Public officials and other critics have raised concerns about the role of media and culture, particularly violent video games.
And that it also desensitizes them to violent activities. And there's research that supports some of those various studies.
I know that one place parents want us to draw the line is with violence in video games. The fact is that a new generation of video games crosses that line, containing the most horrible depictions of graphic violence.
In 2003, Rockstar Game shocked the gaming world with a brand new IP by the name of Manhunt, a bold new title that introduced a level of extreme violence never seen before in gaming. The game pushed the boundaries of what was considered acceptable, exploring dark and twisted themes that few developers had dared to venture into. Manhunt 1 pushed its way into huge controversy with the media and governments of the world as it added to the debate whether video games could be a cause for real-world violence. However, this wasn't the start of the debate. Let's go all the way back to 1992. 30 years ago, the fighting game scene was dominated by two groundbreaking titles, Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. Street Fighter had its moments of dispute because of the aspect of two people fighting, but it wasn't anything people were complaining over. The Mortal Kombat, which released on consoles a year later, became a focal point of controversy, largely due to its violent nature, with its infamous fatalities drawing the most criticism. But I mean, if you look at what they were complaining at and compare it to some of the stuff nowadays, it's kind of crazy to think about. But for the time, the way Mortal Kombat looked was revolutionary. Despite the controversy surrounding Mortal Kombat, the game ultimately received the green light for release. However, it marked one of the first instances where governments began to seriously question the potential influence of video games on behavior, sparking debates about the impact of graphic content in the gaming industry.
My name is Daniel Lamb, and I live in hell.
Manhunt 2, released in 2007, reignited the heated debate between outraged parents and the media, but this time the backlash was far worse. The game was outright banned in multiple countries upon its release, with some going as far as to prohibit any sales entirely. In Manhunt 2, you step into the role of Daniel Lamb, a brand new protagonist introduced to the series. This shifted a change from the first game, where the story centered around James Earl Cash, Manhunt 1's main character. The core premise of Manhunt 2 revolves around progressing through mission-based areas, with stealth being a crucial element. To complete these missions, you must eliminate enemies strategically in a way reminiscent of the Hitman series, but more up close. Daniel isn't physically strong, so if you're detected, the odds of dying and restarting is high. This makes avoiding detection and executing silent kills essential to making it through each level successfully. The storytelling delves much deeper than the first game, which was more focused on smaller missions. The narrative becomes more complex and psychological, particularly through the character of Leo, a friend of Daniel's from the beginning, as he initially appears to be a helpful sidekick. As you progress further in the game, it's revealed that Leo is not real. He's a manifestation of Daniel Lamb's psychopathic mind. One of the most disturbing aspects of Leo is that he's the one who guides you, offering tips on how to execute people in the most brutal ways, which is unsettling to find out that he never actually existed. The game features a unique execution system that adds a layer of tension and strategy to every kill. When you're about to eliminate an enemy, a meter appears, and the longer you hold the button, the more brutal the execution becomes. There are 3 stages: white, yellow and red, with red being the most graphic. As well, throughout each mission, there will usually be a new set of weapons to pick up. Some of you might be saying, the game doesn't look too bad, and to answer that briefly, there is 2 versions of the game: the sold more safer version and the uncensored version. The uncensored version being the one to cause most of the problems. And for the background, in the video I am playing the sold release version on the PS2, so the safer version. Now let me revisit Manhunt 1 and tell you a quick story on how it became infamous due to its connections to a murder case in England. From a statement from the British Board of Film Classification, the ones responsible for the national classification and censorship of films and games in the UK, said, in 2004, the game was mentioned as a potential factor in the murder of a 14-year-old in Leicestershire. The murderer was said to be obsessed with the game, and a series of speculations as to his motives. In the resultant media coverage, some papers called for the game to be banned, and Dixon's and Game withdrew copies from their shelves. Other retailers such as HMV reported an increase in sales. I have never heard of Dixon's, but I presume they're like a game retailer, but back then. But I've never heard of them. Maybe they went bankrupt or something. And HMV is like another retailer that sells like games and stuff. But if that is all true, or it's just a statement that a lawyer gave in defense, or it's just the media trying to spin a story of the game, I am really not sure. It's disheartening to hear about incidents like this happening. It really is. While it's true that such content might inspire ideas to individuals that have deeply disturbed minds, the blame doesn't completely lie on the game itself. The real issue stems from the individual's mental state, their brain wiring, or psychological instability that drives them to commit such acts. And the game, I don't think, is to blame for that. With that incident, it left a lasting mark on the Manhunt series, and with the second game, even more violent than the first, was in process of being released, it sparked significant concerns in multiple countries. When the game was submitted for rating approval to secure the green light for sale, it was rejected by multiple countries. Which begs the question, how many countries officially banned Manhunt 2? The United States was one of the largest markets to prohibit the sale of the game, alongside 8 other countries to follow suit. Some nations even went further by outright banning the game entirely from the country. While it's challenging to locate a full list of every country that applied such restrictions, the ones I was able to find include the USA, UK, Ireland, Germany, Australia, New Zealand, South Korea, Malaysia, and Saudi Arabia. The first 3 countries I mentioned initially banned the sale of the game. However, the US later reversed its decision after Rockstar modified the game to meet the necessary standards, allowing it to pass the ESRB check. The adjustment helped ease the restrictions, enabling the game to be released in America on the 31st of October, a whole 3 months after the planned release date in July. However, in the UK it was a total different story. When they got hold of the new and modified version of the game, they still rejected it. Despite Rockstar's efforts to make the game more tame for these regions, the British Board of Film Classification maintained its stance, ultimately preventing the release of the game in its original form. So what did Rockstar decide to do? They appealed its rejection, and 2 months later, on December 10th, 2007, they managed to win the appeal for it to be released. Everyone's happy, right? No. The British Board of Film Classification decided to take Rockstar to court over this decision, and on January 25th, 2008, the BBFC, that is a wild acronym, won their case in court that the game had been approved for release on a misinterpretation of the law. That's the end, right? It just got officially banned in the UK. Nope. The VAC, Video Appeals Committee, approved the game for release a second time on March 14th, 2008. This was due to the judge's decision in court back in January. After the court's decision, a spokesperson said on Rockstar's behalf, "We are pleased that the VAC has reaffirmed its decision, recognizing that Manhunt 2 is well within the bounds established by other 18+ rated entertainment." So it took a while, but they eventually had the green light to sell the game in the UK. There is a lot of other types of situations like this all over Europe. Around the time, Italy, Netherlands, Portugal, Scandinavia, all having issues with the ratings of the game and debated on whether they should release it in their country. If you are from any country that you know about that's banned it, then put it in the comments. I would love to know some more countries that banned it, because I don't think I have all of them. So the question now, will we ever see a game stir up this much drama again? With the gaming industry continuing to push boundaries, it's really hard to say, but in my opinion, it's no. I think Rockstar will probably be the only company that could come close to sparking similar drama again, given their history of pushing boundaries with their games. GTA 5 had multiple lawsuits, for example, but ultimately, I can't see anything ever being as controversial as Manhunt 2 again. While GTA 6, hopefully releasing later this year, might feature some insane content, it's hard to imagine it reaching the same level of outrage as Manhunt 2. I would love to live in a timeline where Manhunt 3 is a reality, but I just can't see Rockstar wanting to get involved with all the backlash and hassles that the first 2 games caused. But who knows? Thanks for watching. Bye.